And it turns out that illegal aliens can get away with more than just no-name licenses. They can also apparently become the superintendent of a state's largest school district.
From New York to Iowa, you probably heard the name by now, Ian Roberts. He has been detained by ICE after attempting to flee with a gun, a knife, and $3 grand in cash. Because, according to authorities, he had a final order of removal and no work authorization. The Des Moines Public Schools Board tearfully accepting his resignation on Tuesday. How can this man have slipped through the cracks, you may ask?
It's a great question considering he has a history. He was also a school superintendent in Pennsylvania, where he is reportedly linked to the hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal settlements related to personnel complaints during his tenure. Des Moines knew nothing about it. This did not raise a flag in his background check.
Joining us now, Washington Examiner national political reporter Salena Zito. Salena, you wrote about his tenure when he was in Pennsylvania in the Mill Creek Township School District. And that school district has buckets to say about this gentleman. And it's outrageous. They made more than $330,000 in legal settlements, one of which happened right before he left that school district.
Yeah, the school board approved it 4 days before he left. There was 3 different settlements. One had to do with some sort of harassment issue. The other one had to do with some sort of, it said a gender issue. A highly qualified person was turned down for the position and then demoted. They won that plaintiff won that statement, that settlement. And then there was a third one, which there wasn't a lot of details about. But, it poured through the school board's minutes. It was in there, and there didn't seem to be any sort of acknowledgement, any sort of comment. I think what is interesting about him is when he was the superintendent, he only meets all requirements in terms of, it's like a grading system for each year that comes up each year, like a review, and the next superintendent has received high marks. So even then, even when he was superintendent, there were clearly not meeting the moment. And I poured through the old Des Moines Register news reports when he was hired in 2023, and the Mill Creek School Board just gushed about him, and I just thought,
we should say he deserves the presumption of innocence just like anybody else. In the nature of these settlements, it doesn't mean he was at fault. The lawsuits were settled, but ICE says that he had a previous weapons charge in 2020 and that there was a final deportation order in 2024. His lawyer says that another lawyer told him that matter had been resolved, but I don't understand, how does this not come up in Des Moines, where an official says they had a search firm do the work here?
Right. And so you have to wonder, what is the search firm? Is it someone's friend that runs the search firm? Right. There's a lot of executive search firms out there. Some of them are very, very excellent. But you have to, there needs to be transparency. This is a person that we're putting in, and this is what the people in Erie said to me. Look, I don't care about the politics of this. What I care about is that there was not a competent review done of this man, and in not just in our school district, but also then going forward, we passed him forward. And it's really tough for parents, because their parents want the best for their children. And when you put someone in that position, you expect them to be who they said they were.
And I'll leave you with this. Des Moines Public Schools Board Chair, Democrat, Senate candidate, and former Michelle Obama staffer demanded radical empathy for this man. Radical empathy. I was like,
I don't know.
I'll leave you
I
with
mean,
that.
if I want radical empathy, if I get a splinter, right? Like what in my finger? What does that even mean? Do they just make up these words to try to make a point? Because I don't think that parents are happy. Yes,
Right.
there was a protest saying they wanted him to stay, but I see as more and more information about his credentials are rolled out, I think more and more parents are going to be very unhappy with their school board.
We demand radical honesty from all libs. How about that? Salena Zito, great to see you.
There you go.